What if you never had to sleep again? I know that sounds crazy, but a lab of scientists are already on the path to that right now. Okay, we've all been told the same thing about sleep. You want to get your 8 hours, and there's no hack, no shortcut. Your body just needs to shut down to recover. Well, a lab just poked a hole in that. They took mice running on no sleep and they gave one part of the brain the recovery it normally only gets from a deep night's rest, while the mice were awake and walking around. That means no nap, no drugs, and that tired brain actually remembered things like it had actually gotten a full night's rest. So in this video, I want to walk you through what they really did and what they didn't do. And finally, I want to wrap up with the part that honestly makes me a little uneasy. Okay, first thing you should know is that this is a real test and a real experiment that was going on. It actually got published this year, and it's genuinely a wild result, but it is also a lot smaller than the headlines are going to make it sound. That's kind of the whole point of this channel. I will give you the cool part and the boring fine print, both, so that you, the audience, can judge it for yourself. So let's get into it, and this is what they did. The lab behind this is located at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and it got published in Nature Neuroscience this year. They were also funded by the NIH, so this isn't some kind of sketchy startup demo. When you drop into deep sleep, your brain does this one specific thing. Big groups of neurons switch on together, then switch off together. On, off, a little bit slower than once a second. That on-off drumbeat is one of the ways that your brain cleans itself up while you are out. And hold on to that pattern because that's pretty much going to be the whole trick here. The team used a method called optogenetics. Basically, you tweak certain neurons so that they react to light, and then you run a tiny fiber into the brain, and then you could flip them on and off with little pulses of light. So they took these exhausted mice, and for about half an hour, they faked that deep sleep rhythm in one small patch of the brain, while the mouse was fully awake. Then they gave the mice a little memory test, and the sleep-deprived mice that got the stimulation from the light performed like they had a full night's of rest. The ones that didn't get it performed worse, exactly how you would expect after not having a good night's rest. And it was not just their behavior. They saw the actual repair happen. Your connections between neurons get louder and messier while you're awake, and sleep is when they get turned back down. That turn down happened here in a brain that never went to sleep. Now, the honest part, because I don't want to oversell this, this was one small patch of the brain, not a whole mouse getting a full night off. It is a specific memory task in mice, not a person pulling an all-nighter or anything like that. And weirdly, the benefit came from that on-off rhythm itself, not just from the neurons going quiet. That part even surprised the researchers. So it is a real result, it is neuro, and it is basically proof that the thing can be done. And that's what really matters here. The repair that we always thought that was locked away inside deep sleep just pretty much got pried loose. Okay, so here's where my head went, and this is the fun part. Once you can do this in a mouse, it stops being a biology question and starts being a people question. Who wants this, and what would they do with it? Picture this from a company side. Sleep is basically the last part of your life that they can't touch. No app gets there, and no shift schedule covers it. 8 hours a night, your body clocks out whether the company likes it or not. And every productivity trick eventually smacks the wall. So a tool that gets you past that wall is never to be sold as, hey, sleep less. It gets sold the way everything that eats into the rest of your life already gets sold, as a gift. You'll hear recover faster, feel sharp on 4 hours, and be able to perform. The promise isn't sleep better, it's you never have to. Okay, sorry, this is my actual favorite part, because this is when it stops being a science paper and turns into something that we've all actually read before. And this one, to me, is straight out of Brave New World, not 1984, and I think the difference here really matters. Orwell's version keeps people in line with fear and punishment, but Huxley's keeps them in line with pleasure. Nobody in Brave New World is forced to do anything. They are all just so comfortable and so entertained that they never stop to notice the bars. The cage is nice, and that's exactly why it works. As a matter of fact, there's a philosopher named Byung-Chul who really nails the modern version of this. He says, we have gone from a world that pushes you around to one where you push yourself around. Nobody has to stand over you anymore because you have got the boss living in your head. You optimize your own sleep, your own mornings, your own recovery, and you call it self-care. You end up being both the prisoner and the guard, and you sign up for both jobs on your own. And let's think about what sleep actually is. It was the one thing your body just did without checking with you first. You don't choose to fall asleep, it just takes over. It's the one piece of you that's not really for sale, not to your job, not to an app, and not even to your own ambition. So something that makes rest optional is not just messing with your own schedule, it is taking away the last thing that you did that had nothing to do with being productive. And look, I want to be fair here because honestly, this could be incredible, right? It's not always all dystopia. Like, for example, let's think about a firefighter 20 hours into a wildfire and a new parent running on fumes or a medic in a disaster zone. For people like that, borrowing a full night's repair is not scary. It really is a gift. So no, I'm not here to just fearmonger the science. I actually think it is amazing, but this channel is about chasing the fun, slightly darker what ifs. So let's go ahead and keep chasing that. Because honestly, you do not need a lab in Wisconsin for any of this. We already run a low budget version of it on ourselves. For example, the notifications after midnight, the shift that ends and starts again 8 hours later, and the phone that sleeps on the nightstand next to you. We have been shaving down our own rest for years with stuff that we already own. So the mice are not really the scary part. We signed up for the beta a long time ago. All right, here's one last thought to leave you with. The real question was never whether they can recharge you on the go or not. It's who gets to decide when you're allowed to power down. Thanks so much, everyone. This is my first video essay. I had a lot of fun and gonna be making more of these. But as always, think about it, let me know what you think, and follow me.